Hi guys, welcome back to the series. Today I'm going to talk about the second step in our body transformation process, which is called motivation. So over step one, we covered assessment and we talked about what we need to do in order to discover where we are right now in the base camp phase of our body transformation, the foundation, really picking up the information and picking up the data on who we're working with, everything about yourself from your age and height and weight, etc., down to your current fitness ability, your mobility, your injuries, illnesses, your lifestyle habits, your dietary habits, that sort of stuff. Understanding all that is important because then we know what we're working with in order to start putting a plan together to get towards the goals that you want to get to. And talking of goals, that is where this stage really starts coming into its own, the motivation stage. So the motivation stage is important because if you know what you're aiming for, and why it's important to you and how it's going to impact your life, then you're going to be way more driven to actually go ahead and put in the work required to achieve it. So an example of a bad goal would be, I want to lose weight. Okay. Yeah. You understand what it means, but it's not necessarily inspiring and motivational. And therefore you'll probably stumble at a hurdle rather easily. If your goals are weak, it's going to be very easy for you to find an excuse not to do it. It's going to be very easy to say yes to going for a few drinks down the pub or to a takeaway, for example. Whereas if you've got a powerful, meaningful, emotional goal, then it's going to be way easier to stick to the process that you need to stick to achieve the goals at all. And that is where this motivational stage comes in. So there's a few different parts to the motivational stage that I want you to consider and that I take my clients through when they are working with me on the body transformation process. The first one is visualization, and this is a much broader part of this stage. So visualization essentially is when you think about what it is that you want to achieve, and you think about it specifically, you think about it in detail. So I will actually get my clients to do a visualization task, and this task is simply starts with closing your eyes and just thinking about what you want to achieve, thinking about the perfect scenario of you've got everything that you want, you've achieved the fitness goals that you want, and that's impacting your life the way you want. So for example, let's use an obvious example. Let's use a wedding as an example. Let's say you're getting married and all your fitness efforts are going towards looking perfect for your wedding day. So you may do a visualization task around that. So you may close your eyes and think about your wedding day. Think about walking into the church. Think about standing up at the altar, getting married to your partner. Think about what you're wearing. Think about how you look. Think about how confident you are because you look amazing. You feel really strong and fit, and all the hard work that you've put in. Think about what people are saying to you, how they're complimenting you, and all this sort of stuff. So I'm not going to go into detail now on this video, but the whole point of the visualization task is to draw out what it really looks like for you to achieve these goals. Because when you can actually paint this picture, then it starts becoming more real in your own head. It starts feeling more achievable and you're more willing to then put in the work to actually go and achieve it, which is really quite cool. When you book a holiday, you daydream of the holiday that you're about to go on, right? Like it's the same sort of thing. You start to think about what it is that you can achieve and how it's going to feel when you get there. So once you've kind of done this visualization task, it's then important to make sure you write this all down in detail. So you have something written down that you can then come back and reread to jog your memory and remind you as to why you're doing all this. And then whenever you have a time where you're struggling, whenever you have a moment where you feel less motivated or things aren't going your way, then you can read this again and it will just jog your memory and think, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm putting all the effort in. Okay. And it's so much more powerful doing that than I just want to lose a few pounds, So you want to really think about how life feels once you've achieved that goal. You want to put yourself in the future. Not always easy to do, so take your time with it. And then, like I said, write it down, list all the achievements in that, okay? List all the little milestones in there. So that's where you could say losing weight or whatever. So that's the first step for the motivational thing. It's to kind of look into the future, visualize what you want to achieve. And then from there, we can then go into goal setting. And the reason why we do the goal setting second after visualization is because your goals will be within your vision. A lot of people, as I said at the start, set very weak goals. And the reason for that is because they do not really understand what they want to achieve because they haven't done the visualization stuff. When you know exactly what it is you want to achieve, it's very easy to find goals within that vision. So let's use the wedding again, for example. You might be able to say, I'm wearing let's say you're a female getting married, I'm wearing a size 10 dress, that could be part of your visualization task. And that is also then a very good goal you can take up from there. So the visualization task could be you walking down the aisle, getting married, blah, blah, blah. And a goal to take from that is I'm in a size 10 wedding dress of my dreams. Yeah, so that could be a really good goal to come out of that, okay? And when it comes to goal setting, we use a SMART goal system. You guys might have heard of SMART before. Wearing a size 10 wedding dress could be a good SMART goal. SMART, S-M-A-R-T, so specific, okay? Obviously, a size 10 wedding dress is a fairly specific goal, yeah? Measurable, yeah, because you measure your dress size, so you know it's measurable. Is it achievable? Yes, absolutely. If you think it is achievable, if not, then you've got to reimagine your goals. If it's like, oh yeah, I want to drop 4 dress sizes in 3 weeks, then maybe not. But if you got like a couple of months and you only need to drop 1 to 2 dress sizes, then absolutely it's achievable. Is it relevant? So is it relevant to our overall vision? Absolutely. I'm dreaming about wearing a size 10 wedding dress at my wedding. That is relevant to the vision. And is it time bound? Absolutely. You'll have a date for your wedding. So therefore there's your deadline. Okay. So we set SMART goals and we draw these goals out of your visualization task, okay? And you may well have more than one. It might be you want to be able to run a marathon, or you want to be able to, play with your kids, or whatever you're visualizing. We can draw goals from that. And the reason why it's important to draw the goals is because this is the stuff you can measure. This is the stuff that is tangible. This is the stuff that you can track. You can't track your vision. It just happens when it happens, but you can track the goals that come from your vision. And the reason why we do it in this order is because then we draw out goals that actually mean something and not just plucking out of thin air. I want to get stronger. I want to get fitter. I want to lose weight. They're terrible goals. But if they come with meaning because you visualized about it first, that's when it's powerful. That's when it's motivating. And that's when you'll be driven to put in the work. So once we've done the goal setting, we've got one or more good goals. The next thing is to start asking yourself the question why. And why is a very important word here. So it's important to have your visualization task done. It's important to have your goals set. But without the why, then we're going to have very little incentive to actually go out and achieve it. So in order to find out the why, you essentially got to ask yourself, why is it I want to achieve these goals? Why do I want to be a size 10 dress for my wedding? And this is where we're really going to tug on sort of the emotions a little bit. So it's going to be, it'll fill me with confidence. It'll fill me with self-satisfaction and achievement. It will make me have the best day ever. Whatever it is personal to you, we've got to start asking, why is it important for you to achieve these goals? How is it going to benefit your life? How is it going to impact you and everyone else around you that you care about? Once you really start thinking of why it's important and it really starts to hit you emotionally, then you're going to give yourself very little reason why not to achieve it. Yeah, you're going to start thinking, well, why would I not put in the hard work? Because it's so clear and blatant that I need to achieve this. I must achieve this for my own sake and for the sake of everyone that I care about. Yeah, when it starts becoming important enough, you're going to work for it. And that is the big sort of barrier for a lot of people. We know what we want, but we're not willing to work for it. Or we think we're willing to work for it, but we stumble at every single hurdle. And therefore, I would argue that you're not willing to work for it. But if you get this stuff right, then it's going to make it a lot easier to actually put in the hard work. Okay, so for the why task, you just got to simply list a load of benefits for achieving that goal. So like I just mentioned, it could be confidence, self-satisfaction, pleasure. It could be, it's to prove a point to someone. Maybe your mum or your dad had always kind of fed this negative emotion into you that you'll always be overweight and kind of really, really dragged you down and you want to prove them wrong. For whatever personal reason it may be, this is where you get that written down. And then we have that, And then we have that to refer back to keep motivating us and keep driving us forwards. So once we've got those three things in place, guys, we've done the visualization task, we've drawn out some SMART goals from that, and then we've written down our reasons why it's important to achieve that. The next and final thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to compile all this together into what I call a motivation document. Okay, so my motivation document will include a written version of my vision, which doesn't just have to be writing, by the way. You can also include pictures, drawings, quotes, role models, anything really. You can make a vision board, and kind of put different things around. So you can put a quote from someone, you can put a picture of someone who inspires you, you can put a picture of your previous self, you can put the wedding dress you're planning on wearing, you can put a save the date, you can put your kids, you can put whatever you want that is important to you and is going to motivate you and is going to help with your vision. So then I would put that down. So text or pictures or a combination of both, but you want to have some form of documentation for that represents your vision. Okay. Secondly, you want to have your SMART goals. So from that vision, you want to have your SMART goals, and this is going to obviously be your specific goals that you're aiming for, whether it's to lose a certain amount of weight, fit into a certain clothes size, achieve a certain milestone. You want to have those written then as well. And then the final thing, your why. You want to list the reasons why it's important to you, and list why you've got to achieve this for your own sake. You must achieve this. There is a certainty that you have to achieve this. So with those three things written down in your motivation document, you then got something that you can read and refer back to every single day throughout your transformation process. And this becomes very important because I will have clients who, at the start at least, are incredibly motivated. They've just committed to this process with me. They're excited. They're ready to go. Maybe a little nervous, but they're keen to achieve. And then as we start going through the process, things get a little bit complacent. Habits start slipping a little bit. They have good weeks, they have bad weeks based on how the results are going, which is always going to happen. Maybe something happens in their life that throws them off a little bit. Maybe they've received some bad news, or maybe they get injured or get ill or go away on holiday and lose their mojo. So it's important to have this document to kind of bring everyone back and bring them back into the motivational zone, because when you've got motivation, you've got willpower, and when you've got willpower, you've got results. So it's important to have this document, read it every single day, and then it sets you up for what you want to achieve. I find that if you read this document in the morning before you start your day properly, so you could read it while having your breakfast, for example, you can sit down, read your vision, feel inspired by your own vision, read your goals so you have clarity on what it is you want to achieve, and then read your why, which will just motivate you and drive you that much further. And if you do that every single day, then your mindset's going to get more positive, and you're going to get more driven, and you're going to be in a much better place to actually put in the work that is going to be required in order to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Okay. And that's it. That is stage 2 of the body transformation process, motivation. So stage 1, we looked at assessment. We looked at everything that you're doing right now, so we know where we are and what we need to change. Step number 2, we've talked about what does the destination look like? Where do we want to be? What do we want to have achieved? Okay. And that hopefully will really start inspiring yourself, and motivating yourself, because like I said just now, motivation leads to willpower. And if you've got willpower, you're going to put in the work that myself or the team give you in order to achieve the results that you want to achieve. The next step we're going to look at is the numbers. So we're going to start going a bit more sciencey and start to figure out your calories, macros, and that sort of stuff. But for now, if you enjoy that, guys, then give it a like. Drop a comment down below, subscribe to the channel. I hope that was valuable to you. I hope you took a few little snippets away from that, and I'll see you in the next video.